Okay, I am back here in the Hummingbird. I got two benches on either, or one bench on either side with two seats. So a total of 4, 6, 8 people total, including pilot, inside this Hummingbird. All right, let's pull into a in-ground effect hover, and we'll notice the power difference required. Remember last time in the 900, the MH900, the civilian version of this, with no benches and no weight, we were pulling about what was it, 47% with full fuel at the beginning of the session, right? Coming into, right, there's 50%. I'm still not even off the ground. I haven't even moved, all right? Okay, about 60%. All right, 73, 72% right there. All right, low in-ground effect hover. I'm using more left pedal. I have a more exaggerated left wing low condition. All right, that's just because I'm using a little bit more power here to hold this hover. All right, all these guys are anti-tank, every single one of them, so a really heavy load. What else? All right, well, you get the idea. All right, much heavier load. I only have about 25% power available to me in order to fly this thing, to get it up in the air, to ascend, and maintain forward flight, right? Of course, as I gain airspeed, the power requirements to maintain altitude will decrease because, as you remember, speed increases your efficiency. All right, so using a little translational lift here, adding power in. A little more left pedal, a little left cyclic to balance that translating tendency. Cyclic's coming forward. It's still a little left. All right, there we are. We're in forward flight. Full load, full chock of people. All right. It's very likely I'm going to end up crashing in this session because I'm trying to prove my point here and I'm pushing this thing to the max. All right, so there. Really, really important that you maintain more or less trimmed flight.
Fast movers. One click bearing 315.
Oh, that's annoying. So the point will be to fly a NOE, nap of the Earth, right? And I'm going to do it right and, fly slow.
Contact. Trucks. 400 meters southwest.
Jesus, shut the fuck up. So we'll follow this road here. You can hear the main rotor starting to struggle. Trying to... There. You hear it? Starting to struggle. The lower my collective, the faster my main rotor can spin, okay? And that's just because with all this weight, you're demanding too much from the main rotor, from the engine. When you're pulling all this power and then you go into a turn, you're demanding too much from it, and it can't keep up with the demand. All right, you have all this air resistance acting against the blades, and then on top of that, you have all this weight pulling down on the aircraft. So the lower the collective, there, you hear that laboring of the engine. That's full power. This thing's not even back up to full speed. There, that's full speed. When I roll into turns with full load, it's power out. And you can even see how the power of the engine is struggling to keep up with my demand as I pull power back in after a turn. Alright, so yeah, those steep turns you have to do with low power settings. Alright, I'm going to do a steep turn. I'm going to do a steep turn with a high power setting. I'm just going to keep the power on the turn, and you're going to watch the rotor RPM rapidly decay to a point that is unsustainable for flight. I will recover by lowering the collective. You will notice the white bar on the vertical speed indicator, second from the right, bottom gauge cluster, as I do this. Alright. So we'll attain forward flight, straight and level flight. Alright, I'm going to lower collective a little bit to get that main rotor speed back. Okay, keeping the power on in the turn. You're going to hear the beep, and it's going to want to fall out of the sky. Alright, corrective action. Lower the collective. Okay, but I was what, like 100 meters in the air there, 150? You do that low to the ground, you're dead. There's no coming back from it. So, something to keep in mind. The slower you go... Oh, God dang it. Oh, we're dead. You get the point. Alright, luckily I saved this thing with the engines running on the deck. Alright. Well, what I was saying is the slower you go, the more power you can pull to go straight up to affect your lift. Let's try that again. Laboring under all this weight, you hear it as collective comes out. Or I go wings level. I'll go wings level. Alright, wings level doesn't do anything, so it's all collective. As I pull out the collective, the main rotor speed will increase. You'll hear it. Listen for it. Here it comes. There it is. I'm going to try and NOE this road down here and not crash like I did last time. Oh, power lines in Tanoa. I forgot about that. Oh, awkward. Oh, jeez, man. I didn't see that one. So basically, I manage my rotor RPM by sound. If I hear it start to come low, I just lower my collective. And if I lower my collective, I'll start to go down, but to counteract that, I'll pull back on my cyclic to increase my angle of attack, which will cause you to gain more lift. With these heavy loads, if you skid into your turn, it causes air to rush up through the main rotor head. You hear that by a sound of the rush of the main rotor. That's a technique you can use when you're flying with heavy loads. So, alright, I'm skidding into my turn. You have to add that power in really slow. Sometimes, counterintuitively, with advanced flight model, to go up, you have to go down. Alright? And what I mean by that is you have to lower your collective. To go up, you have to lower your collective. Alright, I'll play some chicken here with that tree line over there, over yonder. Alright. Oh, tree line. Oh! Alright, so what I want you to do here, auto hover's on. What I want you to do here is to rewind the last 30 seconds, go back to when I was flying over that field towards this said tree line, I saw the tree line coming up, and you'll look at the vertical speed indicator, and you'll see I added full power, right? Pulled all the collective I could, and I did not go up. In fact, my rotary RPMs started to drop, and the helicopter actually started to go down. I saved it at the last second by, as again, you'll reference the vertical speed indicator, gauge in the bottom right, the white bar. I lowered it. I probably lowered it all the way, in fact. My rotor RPM jumped right back up, and the helicopter pulled out of it. All right, I think I danced around with the throttle a little bit. You'll see it, but rewind, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And that's what I mean by it's counterintuitive when you have heavy loads like this. That to go up, you need to lower your collective. It's very counterintuitive. You know, in advanced flight or standard flight model, you're used to just, the throttle will do half the work. The throttle still does a lot of the work in advanced flight. It does all the work actually in advanced flight model. It just works much different than what you're used to. Right. All I gotta say is with these heavy loads, smooth anticipation is the key. All right. You have to think 4 steps ahead of the helicopter when you're flying like this. All right. NOE flights, very risky. Very risky. Your best bet is to, fly high to the AO. Good 30, 35 meters is going to keep you clear of all obstacles.
Enemy spotted. Car. 300 meters
As
left.
you approach the AO, or the landing zone, the intended landing zone, I'm not even going to go into that town. I'll just die. Right, steep turn, so I pretty much take out all my power. We're going to the helipad. So you're flying in. You have your landing zone marked, right? You know where you're landing. Right, get all that rotor speed built up. Skid into your turn. Keep that nose up. Power is constantly coming in, slowly and smoothly, so as to not kill all of your rotor RPM. You're just going to have to play around with it. You're going to have to listen to it, feel it. Basically, the goal is to maintain your rotor RPM as you're making those ingresses. Whoa, holy shit. Oh man, whoops. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Oh, that's another thing. I guess if you're loaded up, you're a lot more likely to crash and die if you barely kiss the ground. Alright, so I think I made the point that I wanted to make about the added weight, okay? Alright, big things to consider. Rotor RPM. That's number 1. Rotor RPM. You want to maintain rotor RPM at all times, at all costs. Usually those costs are airspeed and your attitude, okay? The more wings level you are, the safer you are, okay? Remember that. The more wing level you are, the safer you are. All right, the more wing level you are, the higher the power you can have. All right, you get anything more than this, bank angle, or pitch angle for that matter, or combination thereof, the lower your power setting is going to have to be. All right, so that's my that's a huge takeaway from this. Everybody flies with weight, right?
Fast mover, 600 meters east.
Shut the hell up. You're flying in King of the Hill like I am. You're flying passengers. You got weight. You're not always loaded up, but sometimes you are, and you got all sorts of people wanting to get to the AO safely. Right? You're gonna get them killed the first couple times flying an advanced flight model. That's fine. You got to practice, man. Come into the editor, practice. All right. Look at that. I have half my power settings right there. I was at 50% power. Flying in a straight line's no problem. It's just when you got to start turning that's when you start running into problems, or when you're coming in for a landing, right? People do this pitch up, right? Well, when you're landing with heavy weight, to land softly requires high power, right? And those final terminal seconds of the landing, right? Well, if you're pitching way up like this, 20, 30, 40 degrees nose up, you know, to arrest your speed, you're pitching way too much for the weight you have for the aircraft. So everything's got to be slow, steady, smooth. As you slow down, you're going to have to go more and more wings level, right? Which causes you to be extra slow over the AO, which really sucks. So with those heavy loads, you know, maybe not think about landing somewhere in the middle or the inner edge of the AO. You might just have to land, you know, well outside of the AO with plenty of cover to boot. Think about that. So I'll do some landings here. All right, you notice I'm flying sideways. I find that's a good method. Auto hover's coming on. To go up, I'm actually lowering my collective. Right, you get to a certain point, and you just kind of feel it, and you know when to add it back in. All right, that intersection. I'm listening to the main rotor. I'm playing with my collective, feathering it ever so lightly. And my cyclic was dancing around in all sorts of different directions, even now. Like, this is me physically moving my joystick in real life, right? You can see how much movement's going on there just to hold a hover. Sometimes it's acceptable to have that low rotor RPM when you know that you're safe. Like right now. And as soon as I lower even just a little bit of collective, it comes right back. Right in that little opening right there above his head. Collective's full out. Right, power's coming back in. Nose is coming down to get a little airspeed. Help the main rotor out. Here we go. Alright, notice I'm more or less wings level. Auto hovers on. Alright, you're just going to have to go back and look at my different power settings. I hate that beep. Freaks me out. I challenge you to load up a Hummingbird full of people and fly it around NOE, or to do landings like this. Try and find another challenging spot. Need a village or something. Come on, give me something. Oh, there we go. Right over here. Over yonder, I say. I was going to say that opening, but there's power lines crossing right over the top of it. That's a bad idea. Alright, I'm going to start orbiting so collective's coming out so I can turn safely without losing my rotor RPM. Now it's slowly coming back in to maintain my altitude. And as I add more power, I actually roll out of my initial bank angle. There's nothing really challenging about anything down there. Okay. I'm just gonna wing it. Whatever happens over here happens. It's gonna be playing with my rotor RPM via the collective as I make my descent and approach. There it is, that field right there. Alright, power's coming in, so I roll out of my initial bank angle. I can pedal turn into it further. Auto hover's on. Oh man, that was rough. See, I almost lost it there. That was danger zone. I'm just lucky that I was over my intended landing zone. You know, my rotor RPM had decayed to the point that I was no longer making lift. Even as I lowered collective, it wasn't enough. All right. Back to the airport, I say. So, I hope you took away something from this little lesson in weight in regards to advanced flight model. I think it's probably the most challenging aspect of flying advanced flight model. Especially with regards to the Hummingbird. You know, all of these things apply to all the other helicopters, but no other helicopter is affected as much as a Hummingbird by a full load. But definitely stuff you're going to have to think about flying other helicopters. The Mohawk, you can pull gobs and gobs and gobs of collective in that thing. Arm loads of power in that. But the engine is slow to produce it, so everything has to be really slow on that helicopter. You'll get a lot of warning tones out of the main rotor. That's fine. Just know that, you know, your corrective action when the main rotor head starts to droop is to lower collective. What else? I'll do an auto rotation with a full load here, right? Big thing with the auto rotation is main rotor speed, right? You're just gonna have to play around with it. All right, I'm about to turn my engine off. 3, 2, 1. Collective's gonna drop as soon as I do it. There. Collective's down. Nose back to get that main rotor speed. Right? You want to keep a steady descent rate, not too steep, not too slow. As you get close to the ground, start adding in your power. Now it's what you call a run-on landing, which with all this weight is perfectly fine. Maybe if I didn't have so much weight, I could land more vertically. Well, you know, that's just not possible right now. So anyway, I will hop into the Orca here in this next session to demonstrate what I was saying earlier about all the control forces being opposite.
We've got an enemy. Car, 300 meters, bearing 255.
Probably doesn't like that Taro either. Alright, so I'll hop in the Orca, like I just said. I'll demonstrate that it is opposite. And I will also show you the manual trim function in its beauty. My pedals were centered right there. I was letting the torque do all the work as I rotated to the right. Something to think about. Sometimes you can let the helicopter do the flying for you. I'll be right back.